Hi, I'm Brina.
And I'm Dee Dee.
And
we're Mighty Moms.
To Owen and Tad, who are both on the autism spectrum.
We're going to share real, honest content and experiences
about what it's like to be a mom of a kiddo on the autism spectrum.
Between the two of us, there is nothing we haven't experienced.
We don't hold back, and neither should you.
Here we go.
Welcome to Mighty Moms Podcast, Season 3, Episode 1.
Today we have an influencer, I would say, for the autism community, Danielle Latham, and her son is Van. And I just enjoy watching every one of your Facebook and TikTok posts and Instagram. She's on all three.
For sure. So Dee Dee and I have to be honest. We have stalked her social medias for a while. And, you know, we just took a break. And so we're back from our break, but we desperately needed break. We have several people that we follow. We're obsessed with Van. He's precious. And so we were just like, you know what, let's get some of these people on our podcast. And a lot of our guests that are upcoming have a lot of followers, way more than we do.
Absolutely.
So we're so excited and just honored and blessed that they have said yes. And we really feel like this is, you know, definitely like God's will for us to bring in these other families and these other parents so that people can not only know about our autism journey, but the journeys of all of these other people.
Can you just tell us a little bit about your journey as a Mighty Mom to Van? Maybe start at the diagnosis stage and we'll just go from there.
Yeah, sure. So Van was about 2.5 when he was diagnosed with autism. He's my first child. So I didn't really know what to expect. I had him when I was pretty young. I was 21 when I got pregnant, 22 when I had him. So I didn't really know what to expect going into my mom journey, him being my youngest child. You know, you read all the books, like what to expect when expecting and things like that, and nothing really teaches you about having a special needs child. So when I started to notice that Van was like a little delayed in some things that I thought he should be doing, like babbling or such as like when I would say his name and he wouldn't look at me, I started to question some things about him. And, you know, his pediatrician actually is what brought up the whole autism diagnosis thing. So I started to look into it a little bit more and read a little bit about it. And then I made him an appointment at Kennedy Krieger, which is a pretty big, popular place here in Maryland, in Baltimore, where a lot of kids with autism go to get diagnosed. And plus it is a school a lot of kids go to now. So that's where Van first got his diagnosis, and he was able to get it very, very young, which means I was able to get him into therapies very, very young. So I've been proactive, you know, since he was, 2 years old, which I think has really helped, along in this journey. And I think the sooner, you get that diagnosis, the sooner that you can get help and try to set yourself up for success for the future.
Yeah, we've said that from the beginning. Like if Owen was diagnosed right at age 3 and I was 37. So when you first started telling your story about how he was diagnosed, like 21, to me, like, I just want to commend you on even noticing and that it was your first child, because getting him diagnosed at 2.5 is amazing to me, for like it being your first child. You're such, a young age. I think that's so great. And you're right, because, I've actually, we are kind of in a rural area in Oklahoma, and there are a lot of people who are just, and it's not necessarily their fault. A lot of it is resources, but like there are a lot of people who don't have a diagnosis until 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and they could have received therapy, that entire time.
Yeah.
So I love that you were able to to get that done and notice, even if it was the pediatrician, you still brought your concerns to the pediatrician. So that's incredible.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I first thought that Van was deaf. Like that was my first whole thought, because when I would talk to him, he wouldn't look at me. Or he was very content, kind of just staying to himself a lot when he was little. He didn't seek out my attention a lot.
Yeah.
And he would like babble, but it was almost like how a deaf person talks, like really pronunciating and things like that. Like when he was little, I remember him, saying ma 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 and like ba 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 ba. But I don't know, really saying it with intentional purpose. Like I don't think he was calling me mama. I think he was just babbling to babble. But then when he had all the hearing tests and everything, and they were like, oh, his hearing's fine. And then I was like, all right, well, something else is going on here. I mean, we went to that Kennedy Krieger appointment, and it was the fastest appointment. I think we went in there, and I'm guessing it was like a developmental pediatrician who saw him, someone who obviously specialized in autism. And I swear, like, he asked me a couple questions and observed Van for like 10 minutes and was like, he's got autism. Like boom, like that.
Wow.
Like, well, because Van went in, he started to line toys up, like he did all the signs that I wasn't even really aware of, and I guess, a doctor seeing it all the time, can just, diagnose it like that, so.
I actually love that.
Yeah.
I wish the diagnosis process was still like that, because now it's like a series of 3 appointments, or at least that's how it is in Oklahoma and Texas. I don't know if that's like a statewide or like a nationwide thing, and you have to fill out this. Well, we did like a Vineland, and it like you tell all about your child, and there's just so many things, because I know for us it was like it took about 2 to 3 months, a series of 3 appointments to find out, and we knew he was, we just had to go through that process to make the diagnosis official. So
I
Yeah,
think
and
it's
if you
just like, I was just gonna say, like, because it was almost like 18 years ago. Being diagnosed with autism just wasn't as difficult as it is now, because there weren't levels and things like that back then. Like a lot of people ask me all the time, what level is Van? Van is not diagnosed with a level. When Van was diagnosed with autism, the only things that existed then as a diagnosis were Asperger's, autism, and PDD-NOS, which is pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified. There was no level 1, level 2, level 3. There was none of that back then.
my son's was the same way.
So
He's
it was
gonna be
much easier.
Yeah, he's going to be 19, and that's what they were like. Well, it's PDD-NOS, and that's all that But he was in a 2-hour appointment, and then and so we went off that diagnosis for years, and then, like you said, now there's all these levels.
what do you think? I'm just curious, because I know we hear lots of different feedback on the levels of diagnosis. What do you think about? What is your opinion on, if you want to share, on the levels 1, 2, or 3 for autism?
I personally don't really like the levels. I wish they would bring back the Asperger's diagnosis. It's a fine line to walk and like to discuss. Like every time you discuss it, like someone gets offended by something.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there is, severe autism, which people don't even like that term. But I mean, you have the autism where it's very low functioning, where you have some, adults who are still in diapers and things like that. And a lot of that autism is also paired with intellectual disability. A lot of people who have autism also have a dual diagnosis in something else. And then you have just autism. Like I used to say that Van was severely autistic, but and now I'm not so sure. I think he's kind of somewhere in the middle. Although you know, Van can't read, he can't write, he can't do math, he doesn't know money. He can't tell time, he doesn't look both ways when he crosses the street. So in many ways he classifies as severely intellectually, but physically he can go to the bathroom, he can do a lot of things that, you know, a medically complex autistic person can't do.
Sure.
So it is such a huge spectrum, yes. But I think the level 1, level 2, level 3, it's very, very confusing to the autism community. And I think that's
Yeah.
why I don't like it. I don't like the confusion of it. I'd be better to talk about a person's needs than to say I'm level 1 autistic, I'm level 2 autistic, because what does that really tell somebody? You
Sure.
still have to what you are, you still have to explain what, that's why I liked Asperger's, because to me Asperger's is level 1, level 2. But
Sure.
you know,
I agree with the Asperger's.
And I agree with it. Like she said, the needs, like that would be so much better
Yeah.
to say, oh, so and so needs this, this, and this, and it would help with all of the disability stuff as well.
Yeah.
There's no fine line or guessing.
Yeah. And they say when you've met one person on the autism spectrum, you've met one person on the autism spectrum, because you can have even 2 level 3s who are very different,
Mhm.
you know?
yes.
And I know for me personally, hearing profound or severe doesn't bother me because it helps me explain my son's needs to
Mhm.
someone. So, and I'm only sharing that when I need to explain, you know, like, so he's not, you know, autistic in driving like some people have autism. Well, so we just last year got my 17-year-old son diagnosed, and he's level 1. And so I do like to be able to say that, because he is, most people wouldn't even know he has autism. We know because of his emotional needs at times. And when I say at times, it may come, something may pop up, let's say once every 90 days. And we used to just kind of like be baffled at, you know, trying to understand why he wasn't able to like wrap his mind around like getting through something that seemed really simple to us. And the more I learned about autism through my younger son's diagnosis, I was like, I told my husband, I was like, I think he might have autism. And you know, you tell your family and they're like, no, he doesn't have autism. And I'm like, no, he does. I really think he does. And so we had him evaluated. And he does have level 1 autism, but drives. He's in all advanced courses in high school, and he is, you know, oh my gosh, so talkative and like can carry on a conversation very intelligently. But it's just that sometimes he has those emotional or sometimes social or situational things that we have to work through because of his autism. So, anyway, but it doesn't bother me.
Me neither.
Because you're severe or profound, because Owen has all the needs, you know.
Tad, he needs 24/7 help and assistance. So
Yeah.
it doesn't, but I do see
But there's so many people that do good.
Yeah, people with like their child has level 1, then they get offended by the profound or level 3.
Right.
I understand. It's probably where their child meets is where they're kind of getting.
And I think, you know, like if my only experience with autism was say Carter, my 17-year-old, and someone said, you know, people with autism aren't going to be productive members of society or whatever, I would have gotten offended.
Yeah.
Because that's my only experience with autism.
Yeah.
Because both ends of the spectrum, I guess you can say, I get it. You know, like I know that those comments are not pertaining to Carter, but it does make it confusing because it's still the same diagnosis. So there definitely probably eventually needs to be some sort of workaround on that terminology, but I think
Yeah.
as long as we're trying to support people based on whatever their needs are, I think that's what's most important.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
So after you got the diagnosis, then you immediately started like speech therapy. Has he ever been in ABA therapy, or what was
Yes.
the next steps?
Yes. The doctor did a very in-depth report of everything that they thought that Van should have, which was speech therapy, occupational therapy, ABA therapy. And they would, in the report, it said how many times a week he should get certain things. So here in Maryland, they have something called Child Find, which is a program even before they start preschool, where you can have somebody come into your home and work with your child, which is really cool, and it's free. So that's what we did. And we had a speech, we had occupational therapy and a special educator come to our home for, I think, 2 years and work with Van. And then he was able to go to preschool when he was 3. So he was kind of doing all that at the same time. And then they didn't do ABA though, but I hired an ABA therapist myself to help Van with potty training, because potty training was like huge on my list. And I was like, it was just my number one goal. I was like, if anything, I just want to potty train him. If that's the only thing he's going to learn in life, I just want to potty train him. And I hired an ABA therapist to do that. And she was amazing. And I could only afford for her to come to my house. I think it was twice a week, just for like an hour each time. But she taught me the skills that I needed. And it was harder on me than it was on Van, because I had to be consistent. And it was so easy for me just to say, I'm not doing it. I give up. Just do whatever you want to do, Van. But like literally, to potty train him, she would pick him up by his arms and I would pick him up by his legs, and he'd be kicking and screaming. Like, you would think that someone was killing him. And we would carry him down the hall just to sit him on the potty for like 2 minutes, and we would set timers and stuff. But it took 2 of us to carry him down the hall just to get him to sit there. I mean, but we were consistent with it. And I don't know, just one day he did it. And he never looked back, and he's been amazing ever since. So
this is probably TMI, but that we're kind of good at that on Mighty Moms podcast. But so I know like one issue that is really hard, even if you can get them to go to the potty when they need to go, is wiping number 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how can I ask? How did you get him to do that? Because that is our biggest struggle right now.
It was a struggle. I mean, if I'm being honest, I wiped him probably until he was 15. I mean, a long time. And I still go in the bathroom and clean up after him. It's not it's not a mess. I mean, he's pretty good. But yeah, he does it himself now. I buy dude wipes.
Yeah, we did too.
Yeah. And he does really great now. And I know he's doing a good job, because, nothing's in his boxers, when I go to wash them. So I know he's doing a good job. It is annoying, but every time he goes to the bathroom, I do go in there and check after him, because he does still urinate all over the seat, and I have to wipe it off every time. He clogs the toilet like 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are still bathroom issues. So yeah, he's potty trained, but we still have bathroom issues. So
well, that's good to know though.
But-
and that gives me hope, especially when you mentioned 15, Owen's about to be 11. And that's just really big on my list, because like, I don't know, I just don't want to have to be wiping him whenever he's older. I mean, obviously I will if I have to, but like, and Owen's been in ABA therapy full time for 7 years. So like we're still full-time ABA. but I still do have hope that he will, and he's going to continue to learn more for sure.
Oh yeah.
Especially because we've also kind of started more of like a holistic journey the last few years with Dee Dee's help, like telling me all the testing that she has had done for Tad, and we've shared that on the podcast as well. But just like, things that I wish parents knew, like to do when their kids were toddlers, so that they can supplement where they're low and things like that. But I do feel hopeful, but that's really nice to hear you say that. So, and not, in listening to your journey about Van's autism diagnosis, what were some of like the emotions that you felt or encountered through that process? I know that's like a heavy question, but that's obviously one of the reasons why we do our podcast, is to like share with all the moms out there and dads who are listening who struggle and have grieved the childhood that they thought their child would have, and so it's just always uplifting, I guess, to hear other people's perspectives and kind of how they dealt with that.
Yeah, I think that it's important to really say that you will continue to grieve. You know, for when you first get the diagnosis, and I still grieve. There are still moments, it never goes away, ever. But I think like when he was first diagnosed, I don't think there was a moment where I actually like broke down. Then I was so focused on getting him the help that he needed. But then like, when he started school, and then I would grieve when I would see him around other kids, not when he was like by himself. So when I started to see him around other kids, like when I would go pick him up from school, and like he was on the playground and he was sitting by himself, like twirling a piece of grass, and everyone else was like playing, like those things would get to me. One time I signed him up for a soccer camp, and all the little boys are running around and wrestling each other and goofing off, and then Van's just not paying attention and just sitting on the ground and didn't care to kick the soccer ball, like, and then I left the field crying that day. So I just really started to focus on things that he could do, and it still hurts. But I found things that he could do. Like now he's on a special needs baseball team. But you still do grieve. Like he just graduated high school, so he's not going to college. My son doesn't drive. He didn't have a date to prom, so like every milestone that typical kids hit and your kid isn't, it's still gonna be a process. And it's okay. It's okay to grieve, and you'll sit there for a couple days, but then you'll snap out of it and you'll continue to go on. And I just try to always just Van always makes me laugh, and he's such a joy to be around, and I just always like try to count my blessings. Like I do have a lot of blessings that typical parents don't have. And I try to remind myself that all the time. So
Yeah, I think that's one thing. When you get out in public around, or not public, just anywhere around other children with autism, and like Brina said, they're all, our kids are all different, but a lot of times I go, like at church, I'll go home and I'm very humble and I'm very grateful for my son not having, self-interest behaviors, and and to see a child struggle with that, it just really breaks my heart. And that's the same way. I'm sure other moms are like, "Oh, I'm so glad I don't have to wipe my child's butt." We all have our different ways of grieving and being humbled and blessed at the same time. And I love that.
Yeah,
there are definitely times when I look at Owen and I'll just, and we'll be having a great day, and I'm just genuinely just so filled with joy that I'm his mom.
Mhm.
Yes, that's gonna make me cry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But like, you know,
Yeah.
he has his challenges and it's hard, but like I get like an overwhelming just feeling of joy that I'm his mom and that God chose me to do
Mhm.
this with him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I do think that God gives us those bursts of joy and to realize how blessed we are. And you know, with you and your platform and then with us and what we're trying to do, even just in our small community and in hopes that it grows, you know, I truly believe that like you are you are helping so many people by sharing your story and sharing Van's story and sharing him with us.
Yeah.
Because
That's hard.
it when I see your videos of Van, it's just it just makes me feel like, you know, hey, like we're not so abnormal after all. You know,
And
there
it-
are a lot of people out there like us.
And your story gives us hope, like of as our kids grow, like, oh, maybe one day Tad will start talking like Van. By the way, when did he start actually talk? Did he have a start talking late? Like I mentioned, you said he was just jabbering.
Yeah. He he didn't really start talking until he was like 7 years old.
Okay.
He would say now when he had the speech therapist come over to the house when he was like 3 years old, he would repeat some small words, but he would never say them sporadically, like when you were talking to him or anything. It would kind of only be like she would read a book and he would like repeat a word that she was saying, but he never spoke. um I it the very first word he ever said was tickle, and it was because Van used to love books before the iPad came
That would
out
be
and stuff
good.
like that. And I had a book called The Tickle Monster, and it had these furry
Aw.
gloves that came with it.
Yes.
And I would
Yeah.
read it to I still have it. And I would read it to him all the time, and I would put on the gloves and I would tickle him, you
Oh,
know,
I
when the
love
parts of the book, and he just said tickle one day. And I think he was probably like around 5 when he said that. And then when he was like 7, I remember we were driving home from a friend's house and it was nighttime and he was in the back seat, and then he just out of nowhere, he just said, "Mommy, doesn't the moon look so pretty?" And I was like,
Oh no. Oh
what
God.
what did you just say? And like he just said a whole sentence. And I was like, did he really just say that? And then
Yeah.
and then he just like started talking. Yeah,
That's
it's crazy.
amazing.
I
And
love
now
that.
he doesn't shut up. Like he just talks like all the time. He's a very repetitive talker though. And a lot of times he only wants to talk about what he wants to talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So like it's hard to engage him in like a regular conversation. Like he wants to only talk about hedgehogs and cartoons and
I love
things that
it.
he likes, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
That makes me think of one of my favorite things of Van, the post that you did when he was telling people about Jesus and what his interpretation of why he thinks people are angry. And it's because and you know that, oh my gosh, I cry every time I see that.
Aw.
In his own way, he was sharing Jesus with the world, and really funny.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the comments because it is that just
Okay.
got me. And like, and I know you said you take him to church every Sunday. Does he go to regular service or?
Yeah. Now I wouldn't say that we go every
Well,
Sunday. But you know, we try to go, but yeah, he'll sit in regular service with me and I let him take his iPad in, and
For
you know,
sure.
sometimes
Oh, yeah,
he'll
for
look
sure.
at watch his iPad or whatever. But let me tell you, he's always paying attention because these kids, you think that they're not listening, but they're always listening. They always
Yes.
are, because he'll catch me off guard and he'll say something about like something that happened in the service or something the pastor said, and you know, he's getting it. You know, they're absorbing a lot more than you think they are.
oh yeah,
They're listening and they're also feeling. They know what they feel too.
Yes.
So I know sometimes Owen will look at me with a really serious face. I know he's curious about what I'm saying, but you can tell he absorbs whatever I'm feeling,
Mhm.
Owen's feeling.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it's been such
Yes.
like a change of, basically it's just helped me grow so much as a person, as a mom, to control when I'm angry, and to like do things to get myself, calm as soon as possible, and really just know how to work through my emotions, because whatever I'm feeling, whether or not I display that feeling, Owen feels it
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I think it's so important for you to do that, and I love it that he gets that exposure to church. It's amazing.
So,
Thank you.
Danielle, what do you do like for yourself as self care, like to stay, I don't know,
Beautiful.
beautiful
Yeah.
one, and also to just stay
Thank you.
sane and being a mighty mom.
Well, I this year I kind of did a complete turnaround and started to really get healthy because I'm getting
Yes.
older. So I was like, I need to start getting a control of some things. So I recently lost a lot of weight, but I go to the gym, I exercise. Van will go to the gym with me sometimes. We go to Planet Fitness and he enjoys walking on the treadmill. I'm trying to get him into lifting weights, but he just doesn't do it properly. I'm afraid he's going to hurt himself,
Oh,
but
so
because he's so skinny, but hopefully we'll work more on that, especially now that he's out of school, so he can go to the gym with me more now. But I like to walk in the mornings a lot. And of course I'll go get my nails done and stuff. But luckily, I know that there are a lot of families and a lot of single parents who just don't have the opportunity to do things like that. And I get it. Um, and when Van was younger, I did not do anything like that. I mean, I was a single mom and I had 3 kids, and my mom would help me sometimes, but I didn't have the finances or, the help to do a lot of things like that. But it just got a lot better for me as my kids got older. Because Van does have 2 sisters. He has a 20-year-old sister and a 17-year-old sister. The 20-year-old's in college in New York, but the 17-year-old is still home with us. And Van is not an eloper or anything like that. So he can stay home with his sister while I can get out of the house for an hour or two and do what I got to do. So I do have family help, and my mom does live down the street and she will help me when she can. And my husband will help me as well. So I do have help, and I realize that some families do not have the resources to do that. But yeah, self-care is big with me because if I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of him.
Right.
So I got to be happy too.
That's right.
So I feel like that's probably the number one goal of all. When you're not in the trenches of autism, that's the end game. We got to live to be 100. We've got to take care of
Yes.
ourselves, and focus is more on taking care of ourselves, which is how it should be in the beginning. But like you said, when you're in the trenches of the autism, you're just in survival
Yes.
mode.
Survival.
And I just, more moms would be like, I have to take care of myself. I know I'm in survival mode, but I've got to take care of myself. And I know it comes with a lot of support. But
And maybe that means, for 30 minutes after you finally get them to sleep, doing something even at home, a face mask or something
yes,
to just
Yeah.
help y'all like bring you down, because it is hard. And we're so lucky to have people in our lives that can help. But you're right, Danielle, there are a lot of people out there who don't. And so I know that's got to be difficult.
Mhm.
absolutely.
If there's any, I know that a lot of states don't have respite, but if you can try to find a
Yes.
respite program in your county, take advantage of it if it's out there and apply for it. Because it can really be a big help, because there are many families out there who do not have a village, and it's hard. Also, you can try to go to your local public schools and see if they know any resources for any kind of respite. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, Danielle, is there anything that you were expecting to discuss today that we haven't asked you, or anything you want to add?
I don't think so. I was just kind of go with the flow. You know,
Wow.
whatever you guys wanted to talk about. I'm always an open book, because I I'll share whatever about Van. I do know that there are a lot of families out there who are just getting started with this, and it is very overwhelming and it is very difficult. Um, but you know, and I know a lot of parents are even afraid to put that autism label on their kids so young. But the thing is if you don't do it, and the more that you're in denial and the longer you wait, the longer your kid is not going to get the help that they need. And the wait lists are long, so long.
Yeah.
And I mean, some states don't even have autism waivers. Some states don't have certain programs. You have to be, I always tell people, don't like when I say it, but I always tell people you cannot be a lazy autism parent. You have got to be on top of the research. I was on the computer every day looking for programs. There are programs out there where you can get free iPads, free swing sets. I mean, all kinds of stuff I did when Van was younger, and no one tells you about it. People are not going to tell you about it. You have to do the research. You have to fill out the paperwork. You have to apply for the grants. Yes, it's a pain in the butt. But you have to have the diagnosis and you have to have the doctor paperwork to even get these things that your child should get. They should get these things. So the sooner you get the diagnosis, the better. The sooner you can get on the autism waivers and the wait list, the better. Because Van waited on one wait list for 10 years before his name came up. And if I didn't get him on that wait list when he was 3 years old, he would have never received services from it.
I think that's such a great takeaway, because I know that that's something that Dee Dee did and I've always told her this, and you're in the same situation because you have older children with autism. It's crazy the difference in awareness, just awareness alone. Okay. Not advocacy, not just awareness about autism now, and how the stigma, for me, I feel like, and maybe it's because it's in my everyday life, it's in my news feed constantly, but like the stigma is not like it used to be. But you and Dee Dee literally did this. When you say in the autism trenches, you were in the trenches because you didn't have any support.
I didn't even think we had internet. I mean, I think we had
a razor phone, girl.
but we did. It wasn't just easy access. I literally bought books.
Right.
Like, go to the library and the bookstore and buy books and just read.
And so, but you have to do that.
Yeah.
And I just, in meeting Dee Dee, 5 years ago, through our foundation, I was like, wow, this mom knows a lot. Like, she researches a lot. And I had bought books, on Amazon or whatever, but I kind of did that like some people do, like not wanting to put the label on your kid. And when they're a toddler, it's like some of the behaviors that they have are still kind of cute. And so I'm like, literally, and this is embarrassing to say now, but when Owen was first diagnosed, my husband and I looked at each other and we were like, do we tell people? How stupid. Yeah, of course you tell people. And then you're like, and be proud of your kid. Like, he has autism and we're going to work through it. And this is, who he is. And then start finding those resources and learning about nutrition and learning about, supplements and programs and therapies and all the things. Like, don't delay. And now is the time. So I think that's such a great takeaway. And I know you don't mean it like harshly, but yeah, don't be a lazy
Autism mom. I love that.
We named this
Yeah.
episode to lie lazy autism because you've got to do the work. And also, if you were, and I know it's hard. I know that there are moments where you feel like I literally am giving everything that I've got. But
Mhm.
in those moments where you do feel empowered and refreshed or energized, we got to be researching. That is the hand we've been dealt, and that's the best way to play it. We've got to be researching, and I've learned so much from Dee Dee was researching stuff years ago that people are just now talking about because of social media and the internet. So I'm
Right.
so for that. And also, if it hadn't been for social media, we would have met you.
Yeah.
And so I think Dee Dee's gonna ask you our last question that we are asking all of our
Okay.
guests now.
What does being a mighty mom mean to you?
Being a mighty mom to me is I'm a person who really likes to help others. And for a long time, I always asked God like what my purpose for life was, because I always felt like I was inadequate, I guess, because like I finished high school and I went to college for a little bit and I was like working towards a degree, but then I got pregnant with Van, and then Van's diagnosis happened, and then I always felt like I wasn't good enough because I didn't have a career and I didn't know like what my purpose was in life. I just felt like I should be doing so much more with my life. And I kept asking God to show me what my calling was. And then all along, this has been my calling and I didn't realize it. So for ever since I started social media, which I started it during COVID was the best thing that ever happened to me and my family. And it's been my calling. Like God has answered me through social media, and I love talking to other autism parents, and that's being a mighty mom to me, a mighty parent to me. And I'm going to tell you, every person who inboxes me, every person who messages me, I respond to all of them. And I love doing that. I love doing it. So just being a mighty mom to me is helping others, because I don't want anyone to ever feel like they have to go through this alone, because I felt like in the beginning, like I was going through this alone, and nobody should feel that way. There's always somebody out there who can relate to you. And I hope that other autism parents know that.
Well, I believe wholeheartedly that this is your calling. I mean, it's evident on social media that how many people that I praise you for answering all of your messages. I can't imagine
No.
what your inbox looks like. I mean, ours is busy, but I can't even imagine
I'm
what.
terrible about getting on TikTok, and when I get on there, it'll be like, you have 88,
Yeah.
whatever, not messages. And if I do have a lot of messages, it's like,
Collabs or something.
or just like random things I don't want since you were open. But so yeah, the fact that you answer all of your messages speaks to what you just said.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Right. I
that's
don't
most-
always answer all the comments, because the comments are way too much to read. But if someone
yeah.
actually messages me, I answer the
Yes.
messages.
Yeah, I think that's very fair.
Yeah, very
I think
fair.
that's very fair. And if someone's reaching out to you, like, they're taking that next step to me to get, an opinion or help or sisterhood or whatever it is that they're
Right.
needing. So, well, Danielle, thank you so much for being our first guest
Yes.
in season 3. Our first episode back to the pod. And we just really appreciate you. We like I said, we are obsessed with following you and Van, and just thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
And inspiring us daily with your posts. So keep doing it and keep spreading that awareness and just Van's cuteness with us every day.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
Why are you smiling like that?
Yeah.
If somebody said to you, I don't like your mommy,
Yeah.
what do you think about that?
I don't care. Mm-hmm.
I love that. Hey, come here.
Yeah.
Come here.
Yeah.
Do you like me?
Yeah.
Hey, one more thing. What are we?
Oh no, he's having bad plan.
That's right.
Okay, Mighty Moms, we're signing off.
Connect with us on our Mighty Moms socials, submit your topic ideas, and share it all.
Follow us at Mighty Moms Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Also, visit our website at mightymomspodcast.com. And remember, together we are a worldwide cult of Mighty Moms. Well, then you can.
The Mighty Moms Podcast is proudly sponsored by the Owen Academy, a pediatric ABA therapy center dedicated to serving children with autism and the families who love them. If you've recently received an autism diagnosis, or you've been walking this journey for years, you know how overwhelming it can feel. Finding the right support isn't just about therapy. It's about finding people who truly see your child, celebrate who they are, and partner with your family every step of the way. At the Owen Academy, our mission is to provide compassionate, evidence-based ABA therapy through our child-guided, play-inspired approach. We believe meaningful progress happens when children feel safe, understood, and excited to learn. Our team is committed to helping children build communication, independence, social, and daily living skills while supporting parents with encouragement, education, and hope. If you're looking for an ABA provider that combines clinical excellence with genuine compassion, we'd love the opportunity to meet your family. Because every child deserves to reach their fullest potential, and no family should have to navigate this journey alone. The Owen Academy, child-guided, play-inspired ABA therapy for children with autism.
You fought battles most people will never see. Let us help you become strong enough to keep fighting. Whether you're just getting started or you're ready to take your health back, Redline is here to walk beside you every step of the way. Redline Functional Fitness, proudly supporting the Mighty Moms Podcast because the strongest moms deserve to be strong too.